Hello, and welcome to Fire Emblem E3 2020. I'm TDAWS, doing this showcase today, and today I'm also joined by the project creator.
Oh. Hello.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. I am the Frozen Phantom of Justice, but you can just call me Phantom.
And this
And,
is... Oh, sorry, this is... I'd like you to introduce the project. It's right now the title screen is generic, but...
Yeah, yes, it's called Project Godslayer, but, yeah, it's not... For some reason, like, SRPG Studio allows you to customize, like, the top window, but not, like, the actual text on the title screen.
Yeah, so this is Project Godslayer. Do you think that's going to be the final title, or is that just your work in progress?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the final title.
It's a great title, if I may say so myself.
Yeah.
Alright, well, let's just get right into it. So, Chapter 1, Part 1. So, we're not going to read out all the dialogue or anything, but I'll give people enough time to read it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna read this first part since, you know, it's supposed
you.
to be me.
Yeah, that's fine.
Hello, Phantom here. I just want to take a quick moment to begin before we say two things. One, sorry for breaking your eardrums when you start up the game. I have no clue how to change it by default, but I'll do it in a later release. And two, the writing here is a work in progress. I'd like to think I'm a good writer in terms of making an overarching story, but I'm just very bad at making people talk. So if there are any writers listening in and you would like to help improve the general flow of the story, you can DM me on Discord, which you should be able to find anyways, back to the story.
And you should be able to find on...
You should be able to find a link to the project Discord in my, like, public FEU thread.
Right. Alright. So, I will say, I like the initial premise.
Yeah.
Delivered supplies. Thought it was going to be a simple mission.
And then just, like... Yeah. Yeah, one thing I like to do... Like, I've actually tried to do this project multiple times before I publicly release it. Like, a lot of characters here are literally just because I've remixed it so many times, but I've just kept certain elements. Like, for example, this chapter wasn't initially, it was forest. Like, it was initially just like an open field with a bunch of houses.
Right.
But then I changed it to a forest because I thought it would fit better.
It definitely adds a lot of appeal to the map.
Yeah, like before, instead of being like a chapter where you have to strategically go through it, it was pretty much just a chapter where you just got bombarded by demons on all sides. Which I thought, like, starting immediately off with the demons was cool, but, just guide. But at the same time, it was just kind of a guiding moment.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and another thing, you know how the GBA hacks have those, like, little flashing things over characters?
Mm-hmm.
It has it, but it, like, makes you pay very little attention to it, so I decided to just not bother.
Gotcha. So one thing I noticed is that, right away, the grammar is not perfect in places. It definitely could use around revisions, but the premise is fun, and we start off in Chapter 1 with our lord, but also with an undead shaman.
Yep.
I thought that was pretty rad. And then one thing that immediately caught my attention was looking at the skills, and so many of the skills are based on the tarot. You've got the 24... You got 24 major arcana, you've got the different,
Yeah, there's a minor suit for every weapon type, which means it gets pretty big.
Yeah, no, I thought that was super cool. These are they remind me a bit of the proficiency skills in Three Houses.
Yeah, then there's King and Queen of every card type gives you -5 damage taken when using it, or +5 damage when using it. So kind of like a reverse of a fair skill.
And I will say, the fact that there are so many skills can often be... Some people find it a turnoff, but the fact that they're sorted by category like this makes it really easy to intuitively remember what they all do.
Yeah, and one thing is you could say, oh, this hack literally has over 200 skills, but remember, a lot of them are just duplicates for different weapon types.
Right. And then you've got the movement skills, another thing I'm very happy to see.
Yeah, and then there's generic skills, and then there's race-defining skills.
Right. Undead, demonic, elemental, animal, construct. All lots of cool stuff here. So let's just get right into it. And right away, one thing I noticed is that you have danger lines, which is super cool.
Yeah, I think, yeah, and as hack, you'll see like a lot of scripters credited. Because like you can do a lot with this engine by default, but there's just certain things that the engine doesn't allow for some reason.
Sure.
But the community has fixed it with like scripts and stuff. Actually, now that I think about it, it's not too dissimilar to like all of the patches that the GBA hack has gotten.
We just got a 94% miss. Fantastic. I'm assuming it's 1 RN.
Yeah, it's 1 RM.
Incredible. But yeah, simple first turn here. Getting the gist of everything. We should take a look at the characters and skills after.
Or one of my favorite things. You see, like you've seen previous projects made with this engine, you may notice that that these animations are actually a bit smoother.
I did notice.
Yeah, you can actually thank Marky Joe for that.
Oh, are these some of Marky Joe's animations?
Well, he didn't quite make new animations. He just made a plugin that kind of like smooths it out.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah, so
you got, the Fool allows you to crit. Hanged Man is sort of like Pavice in Aegis.
Yeah, well, it's like Pavice in the old games where it just gets rid of all damage.
Yeah, it's like Great Shield. Is the term people use, I think.
Yeah.
Fool, the Chariot allows you to double. So what was the incentive to make Pursuit basically from FE4 into a skill?
Well,
because it can totally work.
But having like Pursuit and like Critical and even things like Rescue being put in skills instead of default mechanics is that it allows me to make units more unique by just simply like removing mechanics from them. So that way, only this unit can do this, but like maybe a different unit can do it as a different class. Or like maybe if you lose this unit, well then only these people can do it.
Right. More unit distinctiveness. I think you can definitely make it work.
Yeah, one thing you'll notice here with the story is that I intentionally wanted the player to be overwhelmed in these first few turns.
I could tell.
Yeah, it is possible to get all the way up to that, like, basically at the gate of that blue house before you actually do things. Like, it's definitely I think it's definitely possible to solo this chapter with just Ken and Nolan, but I wouldn't advise it.
And here comes the backup, which this is as far as I've gotten in my test playthrough.
Yeah.
We got some new units, an archer.
Yep, an archer, a swordsman, a priest, and a quartz knight, which is just my version of Great Knight.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then this also really, I was surprised by this, is the little healing event in the cutscene. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it can even take some durability and gives her experience. And I always love little details like that.
Mm-hmm.
This actual, it makes it seem less like a game and more like an actual world that's abiding by its own rules.
Right, some verisimilitude. So we'll take a brief look at their stats. Got the Strength Arcana, which is Vantage.
Yeah.
Bows, pivot.
You may say that's a little bit useless on Archer, but
I don't know. I wouldn't call it useless. Just maybe a little unorthodox.
Yeah.
Magician. It's Miracle.
Yeah, no. But the thing is that characters here, they gain skills by leveling up, but it's not based on their class. It's just based on them.
That's pretty cool. I like Tiara style level up skills.
Yeah, so that means you'll eventually get like better versions of the proficiency skills, and like will eventually get like a Princess of Bows, which is just close counter.
Ah, gotcha. So one of the gameplay thing I want to talk about while I'm actually just making moves is the fact that weapons can't be traded and they have infinite durability. What was the incentive to try to design around that?
I was actually inspired by another person who I tried out a demo for their project. I can't remember what their name was. I think it was called Poked SRPG, but I can't remember the actual creator's name.
Okay.
And I really like the idea because instead of it being like items that you just trade around, it makes units feel a lot more unique. because it's less like you just have to manage all of your items and prevent them from breaking. You're just spending all of your money preventing your items from breaking, and you're just trading them. In a regular FE game, and in FE4, you're just. I really like the way FE4 does it, where you can like trade them around with money, but I don't know. I felt like I should give them more. I can't speak today.
It's alright.
I don't know. I feel like I want to make them more like abilities than actual like weapons.
Yeah, it's sort of you're sort of trading the strategy element that comes with balancing like durability with more unit distinctiveness, which I think is a fun possible trade.
Yeah.
It really changes the flow of the game, where I'm focusing more on the stats of the weapons that I'm using versus trying to conserve more higher tier weapons.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make it so that, like, in Fates, many people like to complain about the durability, which I think is warranted. But at the same time, a lot of weapons are used the exact same way you would if they were regular. Like, for example, silver weapons. By decreasing the stats you use them, you only use them for, like, that one attack. Wait, what?
I guess the town event here isn't working.
I thought I fixed that.
Huh. Well, we're still gonna defend it, just in case.
Yeah,
So,
usually that...
Normally the steel axe is released.
Okay, so under regular circumstances, that house would have given you a different weapon depending on which character uses it.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. So, in order to prevent you from just getting an item that is unusable by your character, that you can't trade.
Yeah. And it also means we have a lot of chances to have things like, the Vooj, like right before.
Yeah!
In fact, it's actually a reference to that if you visit the house with Will, where he actually gets a hatchet from it.
Cool.
And, also on Fez, I want you to take a quick look at the staff once you get out of this menu.
Alright, can do.
Just take a look at it.
Ah, it's got 3 range, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Alright, well, we're gonna have Scott go visit that yellow village, and we're gonna have Ken move towards the front. I will say, there is range toggle, which is nice, but having the more simple, just like damage lines toggle is super appreciated too.
Yep.
This game really does have a nice, fast feel to it. That's kind of refreshing.
Yeah, like one thing I find a problem when going back to play the older Fire Emblem games is that do you ever chapter like in the late game it just feels like a pain.
A bit of a slog.
Yeah, or for example, Conquest. Many people praise this game for its design. I would agree. In the early game, it's great, but in the late game, it just sucks. Like, especially for Iron Man. Like, I think that game sucks for Iron Man, because one thing I think that game does poorly is that once you reach the mid-game, unit recruitments almost fall off entirely, and all of your old units are basically untrainable.
Yeah. For sure.
Which, in my opinion, isn't how a game of permadeath should be designed.
I don't think you'll find too many people who disagree with you there. But yeah, so ultimately I just feel like there's a lot of promise here with just the game flow, and this starting map, it's nothing too crazy, but it's got, you know, classic setup. There's reinforcements that are going to come. I'm not going to worry too much about EXP allocation since we're playing the demo, but
yep.
You can move Will into range. Just take advantage of the terrain here.
Yeah, that house worked before. Actually, wait, maybe it's because he went to the orange house first? Actually, yeah, that must be it. When I made the event to make it so that the thief couldn't destroy the village, I must have accidentally put it on that house instead.
Yeah, I could do it. Well, it's good that we caught it. Alright, well, I'm going to take advantage of some rad movement skills. What's your
movement skills? I really like movement skills because they just allow you to save yourself from little mistakes.
Yeah.
Like, I was playing FE8 the other day, and I had to deal with this annoying, like, Purge Bishop in Chapter 16. Or, no, it was a Sage, but... Anyways, you know, like, Siege Tome, whatever, really annoying.
Right.
And I had my Phantom all the way back at the left. And you know, I spent, like, 15 minutes save stating, because the Phantom was one tile away from where he needed to be.
Yep. And you're just, at that moment, you're just like, ah, man, if I just had shove. I know that I often get into that exact situation when I ever play hacks or projects that don't have movement skills. After playing projects that do.
And like one of my things that I'm definitely trying to do here is make it so that you can get through the game without it feeling like a slog or having to redo chapters.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, I didn't feel like introducing it here because if one chapter it would feel pointless, but I was gonna introduce like 3 different difficulties, then 3 different modes, you know, like how the modern Fire Emblem games have it so that you select the difficulty, then classic or casual.
Right.
Here it would be easy, normal, and then hard, with normal being the intended difficulty, then easy and hard being easier or harder.
Makes sense.
And then there would be casual, classic, and Iron Man. And someone's made a script for an Iron Man difficulty, so it would be able to work. Also, one thing here before I forget is if you click on a unit, like into the screen, use the arrow keys.
Yeah, you got growth display and weapon ranks.
Yeah, for some reason I don't. There's no way that I know of to make it so that you can use it with the mouse as well.
I currently have mouse controls disabled just for the recording purposes.
Oh.
So maybe there's a way, but the fact that they're here and available is really nice.
Yeah, another thing is, I renamed the magic to knowledge.
Yeah, I noticed that. Any particular reason?
I just felt that it fit better with the game, like with it being the knowledge of your magical ability rather than some like inherent strength with it.
Sure, that makes sense. So, one thing to ask is, this guy does seem to... It says that his reach says he moves, but does he move? Or is he
he doesn't move.
Okay.
Yeah, there isn't like an advanced AI thing for moving.
Just a limitation of the engine.
Yeah, I should probably just make a hidden skill that reduces his move to 0.
Sounds like a smart enough workaround. So yeah, I think this Blue Village just is not working right now.
Yeah, because like another thing with this engine is that it's... Like, all the, like, besides the engine, is that all these were, like, free assets. Like,
right.
Like, many of these are just regular assets, but some of them, like, for example, the monochrome dark tome that's used for the gloom icon.
Mm-hmm.
That was, like, a fan-made asset that someone made.
Cool.
Stuff like that. Like, all of this just basically requires the engine and, you know, just asking for help.
Yeah, how is it generally in the SRPG maker community? Because I have some experience, but it's more limited.
Yeah, they're generally good. They're generally good people.
Just like a lot of collaboration.
Yeah, like there's a lot of collaboration, people trying to help out.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, tons of scripts and stuff, and you know we have like some, and you know we even have like Marky Joe here who made his own wiki, tons of plugins that improve the presentation, so you know. The engine looks presentable.
Right.
He made a contest called Don't Make Fire Emblem, which was specifically made to try and show off that, you know, it isn't just a Fire Emblem maker. You could do pretty much anything with this engine if you wanted.
That's cool.
Yep, and he even started a community asset project where basically people would donate money so that we could hire off some artists to make better assets for the engine. Because, I'll be honest, the RTP, you know, it looks fine, but it just really doesn't look that good.
It doesn't necessarily impress. I get you.
Yeah, especially compared to the GBA's graphics, where, you know, they look good even like 10 years after they were first released.
Right.
You know, with this, like, I could definitely see this aging.
I will say, Scott feels like he either needs to double more or he needs to have a little bit more base power.
Oh, he doesn't... Well, maybe I should give him the doubling skill.
I mean, he's passable right now, but he's probably my worst unit. Just idle thoughts.
Yeah,
Obviously,
when
you have just one chapter, it's kind of hard to balance everything out and be like, oh, this unit going to be viable in the long term.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of that, look at his growth rates. He has a funny little gimmick with him.
That is pretty great. They're all a little different.
Yeah, it's because of his luck growth, which is 13. He's very
Ah,
unlucky.
but everything
So
else
the
is
rest
a
of the
little.
growths are bumped up by 1 to compensate for it, so that his growth rate is still like his total growth rate is still an even number.
That's pretty funny. I won't lie. It's a fun little bit.
Yeah, I was originally gonna put it in its description, but I decided it wasn't really a defining trait of him at this point.
Sure.
Yeah, back in, one of the older incarnations, when I still had personal skills, I'm still debating on whether to actually include them, given that I don't have room for many skills. But originally, he had a skill that basically just allowed him to insta-kill based on his luck, except he started out with 0 luck and had a 13% luck growth.
So it's like really low odds of activating.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun. Alright, we're just gonna move on to position. I noticed you do have rescue here on Will specifically. Has it's a skill. It's not universal, but I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, fans, like, for example, all the cavalry units have something like second step, which is just a renaming of Kanto.
Right?
I just thought it sounded better.
Does that activate after attack actions or just non-attack actions?
It doesn't activate after attack actions. I feel it makes them too broken.
It is super powerful. You have to definitely balance around it.
Yeah, and then there's like, for example, all the armor units have rescue.
Cool. That seems
and
appropriate.
The armor units is that armor units have standard movement when compared to other infantry units.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Yeah, because I feel that with armor units, you need something better than... You need something better than, like, stats in order to make that useful. A useful trade-off.
Yeah, for sure. If you're gonna keep them with lowish speed but good bulk, they probably don't need to fall behind the rest of your army already.
Yeah. Okay, now here's the ending. It's mainly just like a bit of exposition.
Sure.
Scott's dialogue at the bottom fits perfectly, just makes sense. Maybe I should add his face as an emote that just says makes sense on the Discord server.
And yeah, then we're gonna hand over the supplies, which I guess that does technically buff his stats.
Yeah, it buffs him a little bit. And one thing is that with, like, for example, Celeste and Armad weren't actually, like, there were characters added in this incarnation. Like, before they basically just didn't exist.
Gotcha.
Yeah, my plans for these two is that they're going to be sort of like Flavio and Basilio, where they just kind of appear throughout the story, but you don't actually get them as units till near the end.
That's cool.
And then we have a mage, a griffin rider, and a cat.
Yeah, cat.
Actually, yeah, well, he's a feral cat currently.
Sure.
Yeah, it's kind of a joke about it here, where I had to do some logic bending in order to make him an actual character, but... Where, like,
so we got some brief character intros. Oh, you were saying?
Yeah, so with the cat here, you see, they can't actually talk in the goose form, or
sure.
transform, or animal form. Yeah, it's just like the cat doesn't speak. Yeah, transmute is the tactical definition for them, because of some lore surrounding the species, but basically just like, they're supposed to be speaking animal language when in animal form.
What the hell are you speaking English? Wait, this is England? I kid.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, he used to be a bishop, so he just taught himself a spell to communicate indirectly. So he still knows how to use stuff.
I gotta say, Cat Bishop sounds like a great premise for a character.
Yeah, like he even has like he's one of the few who still has his personal skill, and it basically just still allows him to use staffs while he transforms, because he can't transform. Which is really useful because his specific class is a promoted class that only uses staves.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then here's the ending.
Right. So, that was fun. I had a good time. There's some stuff.
Here's all descriptors.
Yeah.
Blind Choco, Cube, Gonzala, Lady Reina, Ragnarok, Repeat, and Marky Joe. And actually, one phase, Lady Reina and Jade Duelist actually made some of the monochrome icons. I guess they just didn't put that in the final credits thing. Must have slipped my mind.
Well, something that we can always add. You can always add later.
Yep.
But yeah, so that was fun. There's a few places where it could use some more polish. Some of the grammar and dialogue, like you admitted in the beginning, could use a little polish.
Yeah.
But overall, great premise, fun chapter. I'm interested to see what comes at next. And is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap this up?
Not really. I mean, other than the fact that I'm continuing to work on it. I'm gonna develop some things, like polished up dialogue. Like I definitely think I'm gonna buff Scott. Yeah, I think I might give him Pursuit at level 5 or whatever.
Cool. Sounds like a good idea.
Just I'll probably for next few days. I guess for like the next few days, like not this recording day, but like the day after this is released to the public on FEE3. I'm probably just gonna look at community feedback and stuff, see what needs to be changed and balanced.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. Taking feedback is a really important part of any kind of project development.
Yeah, because I want to do it like while it's still like in the first chapter, and not develop a ton of stuff and still have like one glaring issue with every map that I need to change.
Sure, I know how that feels. Well, yeah. Well, thanks for coming on to commentate. It made this really fun. Again, I had a great time, and I think that means we're going to be wrapped up here for this showcase of Project Godslayer. So thank you for coming out. Thanks to everyone for watching, and until next time.